The large silver ship landed softly on the special pad built just for this moment. Crowds watched from a safe distance, their eyes wide with wonder. Today was a big day for Earth. The first alien ambassador had come to meet humans. Ambassador Tal stepped out of his ship. He had blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight. His 4 eyes blinked one after another as he looked around. 2 arms hung at his sides, while a third, smaller arm stuck out from his chest. He wore a simple silver suit with no seams. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Tal," said June, bowing slightly. June was chosen as the human who would work with Tal. He was a top diplomat from Korea, known for being calm and smart. Tal made a strange motion with his 3 hands. "I bring peace from the Viridian Collective," he said. His voice sounded like music, rising and falling in an odd way. June led Tal to a waiting car. "We have prepared rooms for you at our best building. Then we will begin our talks." "I am eager to learn about humans," Tal said. "Your planet is the first we have found with thinking life like ours." In the car, Tal looked at everything they passed. He seemed most interested in the people walking on sidewalks. "So many different shapes and sizes," he said. "On my world, we all look much the same." June smiled. "Humans come in many forms, but we are all one people." At the meeting building, many important people waited to meet Tal. The alien ambassador shook hands with each person, using his chest arm for this new human greeting. The meetings went on for many hours. Tal never asked for breaks. He sat perfectly still, all 4 eyes always open and watching. June began to feel tired as the day went on. By evening, he could not stop a big yawn from coming out. Tal suddenly froze. All 4 of his eyes focused on June. "Are you unwell?" Tal asked, his musical voice now sharp with concern. "No, I am fine," June said. "Just tired. It has been a long day." "Tired?" Tal asked. "I do not know this word." June tried to explain. "After being awake for many hours, humans need to rest. Our bodies and minds need sleep." "Sleep." All 4 of Tal's eyes blinked at once, which hadn't happened before. "What is sleep?" "It's when we become unconscious for several hours. Our bodies rest and our minds sort memories. We do it every day." Tal's blue skin turned a lighter shade. "You become unconscious. You lose awareness. Every day." "Yes, for about 8 hours each night," Jun said, not seeing why this was strange. "All humans need sleep." Tal's third arm pressed against his chest. "You willingly lose consciousness. Your mind stops working." "Not exactly stops. We dream during sleep, but yes, we're not awake or aware of our surroundings. And this happens to all humans. Every day." Tal's voice had risen to a higher pitch. "Yes, in fact, I need to sleep soon. We have arranged for you to have a room where you can do whatever you need to do at night." Tal stood up suddenly. "Viridians never lose consciousness from the moment we emerge until we end. The idea of willingly losing awareness is—" He stopped, clearly struggling for words. June noticed Tal's hands were shaking. "Ambassador, are you okay?" "I must think about this new information," Tal said. His voice was now flat, with none of its usual musical quality. "Humans turn themselves off and on each day. This is unexpected." As they walked to their rooms, Jun saw Tal watching him closely, as if waiting for him to suddenly fall unconscious. June didn't understand why sleep seemed so scary to the alien. It was just normal life to humans. Neither knew that this simple difference would soon cause a major problem between their worlds. The next morning, June knocked on Tal's door. The alien ambassador opened it right away. Tal looked the same as yesterday, his blue skin still shimmering. "Good morning, Ambassador. Did you rest well?" June asked with a smile. "I spent the night looking at the stars from my window," Tal said. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Did you sleep?" "Yes, about 7 hours, June said. "I feel refreshed now." Tal's third arm twitched, and you were fully unconscious, not aware of anything around you. That's right. June nodded. That's what sleep is. Tal made a strange sound. I have requested more information about this sleep. I need to understand it better. After breakfast, they went to a meeting room where Dr. Kim, a sleep expert, waited for them. She had charts and brain scans ready. Ambassador Tal, I understand you have questions about human sleep, Dr. Kim said. Yes, I find it very disturbing that humans turn off their minds every day, Tal said. Dr. Kim pointed to her charts. Sleep is essential for humans. Without it, we would die. Our brains need this time to sort memories and heal. She showed Tal pictures of brain scans. This is an awake human brain. This is a sleeping brain. You can see it's still very active, just in different ways. Tal leaned forward. And humans have no awareness during this time. Limited awareness, Dr. Kim explained. We can sometimes hear loud noises, and we experience dreams. Dreams? Tal asked. Mental images and stories our brains create while sleeping. Sometimes they make sense, often they don't. Tal's skin paled. You hallucinate regularly, and this is normal. Yes, Dr. Kim smiled. Everyone dreams. Tal stood up suddenly. Let me understand this clearly. Humans spend 1/3 of their lives unconscious. During this time, you hallucinate and cannot defend yourselves. And you do this willingly every day. June nodded. It's natural for us. Tal paced around the room. On my world, continuous consciousness is sacred. From the moment we emerge from our growth pods until our final dissolution, no Viridian ever loses awareness. The idea of willingly entering unconsciousness is, he paused, it would be like dying each day. But we wake up, Jun said gently. Yes, you die a little death each night and return each morning. Tal's musical voice had a sharp edge now. It's frightening. Dr. Kim tried to help. It's just biology, Ambassador. Nothing scary about it. But Tal wasn't convinced. I must report this to my superiors. This is a significant discovery about humans. After the meeting, Tal asked to be alone. June found him later staring out a window. Are you okay, Ambassador? June asked. I am trying to understand, Tal said quietly. If a Viridian lost consciousness, even for a minute, it would mean severe brain damage or death. Yet humans do this for hours willingly. He turned to face June. How do you trust that you will wake up? June hadn't thought about it before. We just do. It's part of being human. And you dream every night. You see things that aren't real. Most nights, yes, June said. Sometimes the dreams are good. Sometimes they're scary. Tal's third arm pressed against his chest. So you not only die a little death each night, but you also enter different realities in your mind. He shook his head slowly. Humans are more alien to me than I thought possible. As they walked to their next meeting, Tal kept glancing at June as if he might collapse at any moment. June realized that what seemed perfectly normal to humans was deeply disturbing to the ambassador. Tal was now sending an urgent message to his home world. The humans were even stranger than they had first appeared. To truly understand humans, you should see how we live, June told Tal after their third day of meetings. My family would be honored if you would stay at our home for one night. Tal's 4 eyes blinked in rapid sequence. Your family unit, where you all sleep. Yes, June said with a smile. My wife Hannah and our daughter Sue are excited to meet you. Tal's third arm twitched nervously, but he agreed. I should observe this sleeping ritual directly, for diplomatic purposes. That evening, June drove Tal to his home in a quiet neighborhood. The house was simple but nice, with a small garden in front. Hannah opened the door as they arrived. Welcome to our home, Ambassador Tal, she said with a bow. She had kind eyes and a warm smile. Tal copied her bow. Thank you for allowing me into your dwelling. A small girl peeked out from behind Hannah's legs. She was about 6 years old with two pigtails. "This is our daughter, Sue," Jun said. Sue stared at Tal with wide eyes. "Your skin is blue," she said. "Sue," Hannah scolded gently. "It's fine," Tal said. "Yes, little one. On my world, everyone has blue skin." "Do you sleep?" Sue asked. Tal's skin paled slightly. "No, my kind never sleeps." "Never?" Sue looked shocked. "But sleeping is the best. I get to dream about flying and talking animals." "You enjoy the hallucinations?" Tal asked. Sue giggled. "They're not hallucinations. They're dreams. They're fun." During dinner, Tal watched the family interact. He didn't need to eat food like humans did. His kind absorbed energy in different ways. But he sat with them and asked many questions. As the evening went on, Sue began to yawn. "Someone's getting sleepy," Hannah said. "I'm not tired," Sue insisted, but her eyes were drooping. "It's bedtime, little one," Jun said. "Would you like to see our bedtime routine, Ambassador?" Tal nodded stiffly. "Yes. I should observe this process." Tal followed as Jun and Hannah helped Sue brush her teeth, wash her face, and change into sleeping clothes with small cartoon animals on them. Sue climbed into her bed, and Jun read her a short story about a rabbit. "Good night, my sweet girl," Hannah said, kissing Sue's forehead. "Good night," Sue mumbled, her eyes already closing. Within minutes, she was breathing slowly and deeply. "She's asleep already," Tal whispered, all four eyes fixed on the child. "Children fall asleep quickly," Jun explained as they left the room. Later that night, after more conversation, Jun and Hannah prepared for bed. "We've made up the guest room for you," Hannah told Tal. "Though Jun mentioned you don't sleep." "I will sit and think," Tal said. "It is how we rest." "Well, good night then," Jun said. "We'll see you in the morning." Tal went to his room but couldn't settle. The idea of the entire family becoming unconscious at once bothered him deeply. After an hour, he crept out of his room to check on them. First, he looked in on Sue. The child lay still, her chest rising and falling. But then she mumbled something and turned over. Tal jumped back. Was she dying? Was something wrong? He hurried to Jun and Hannah's room and slowly opened the door. Both adults were completely still, eyes closed. Jun made a snoring sound that startled Tal. Panicked, Tal rushed to the bed and shook Jun's shoulder. "Wake up. Something is wrong with your body functions." Jun jolted awake, confused. "What? What's happening?" Hannah sat up too, startled. "Is there danger?" "You were both unconscious. The child too. All of you at once." Tal's voice was high and frantic. "How do you defend yourselves like this? What if enemies came?" Jun rubbed his eyes. "Ambassador, this is normal. I explained about sleep." But seeing it, Tal's third arm was pressed tight against his chest. "Your entire family, helpless all at once. It's terrifying." Hannah looked at Jun, then at the alien. "It's how all humans live, Ambassador. We've been doing it since the beginning of our species." Tal backed away. "I don't think I can stay here tonight. I need to process this." The cultural gap between them suddenly seemed as vast as the space between their worlds. After the incident at Jun's home, Tal returned to his official quarters at the embassy building. He could not stop thinking about what he had seen. 3 humans, all unconscious at once, completely helpless. It went against everything he knew about staying safe. The next morning, Tal requested a meeting with human scientists. "I need to understand this sleep process better," he told Jun. "I need to see it from a scientific view." Jun arranged for Dr. Da, Korea's top sleep scientist, to meet with them. Dr. Da had spent 20 years studying how humans sleep and dream. "Ambassador Tal, I understand you have concerns about human sleep," Dr. Da said when they met in his lab. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. Concerns is not a strong enough word, Tal said. His blue skin looked paler today. I find it deeply disturbing that all humans become defenseless for hours every day. Dr. Dan nodded. Let me show you what actually happens during sleep. He led them to a room with many screens and machines. A young man was sleeping in a bed connected to the machines by wires. This is my assistant Han. He volunteered to sleep here today, so you could observe, Dr. Day explained. These machines show us what's happening in his brain and body. Tal looked at the screens with all four eyes wide open. His brain is still active. Yes, Dr. Da pointed to different parts of the screen. Human sleep happens in stages. Right now, Han is in light sleep. His brain is still processing information, just differently than when awake. Dr. Dai showed images of Han's brain. See how different parts light up. The brain is sorting memories, fixing cell damage, and removing waste products. So the brain doesn't turn off completely, Tal said, his musical voice a bit calmer. Not at all. In fact, during REM sleep, that's when we dream, parts of the brain are more active than when awake. As they watched, the patterns on the screen changed. Look, he's entering REM sleep now, Dr. Day said. See how his eyes move behind his eyelids. He's watching a dream. Can you see what he's dreaming? Tal asked. Not exactly, but we can tell it's an active dream. His body is paralyzed, so he doesn't act out what he's seeing. Tal's third arm twitched. Paralyzed. Your bodies freeze too. It's a safety feature, Dr. Day explained. Without it, we might hurt ourselves trying to move in our dreams. For the next hour, they watched Han cycle through different sleep stages. Dr. Day explained each one and showed charts of what was happening in the brain. So humans don't fully turn off, Tal said finally. But you still cannot defend yourselves or be aware of danger. That's why we sleep in safe places, Jun said. Throughout history, humans have built shelters partly to protect us while we sleep. Tal nodded slowly. On my world, this would be unthinkable. Viridians are always alert, always aware. We would never allow ourselves to be so vulnerable. After leaving the lab, Tal went to his private room and sent a message to his home world. He recorded everything he had learned about human sleep. My fellow Viridians, he began, I have made a disturbing discovery about humans. Every day, they enter a state they call sleep where they lose consciousness for hours. During this time, they experience vivid hallucinations they call dreams. They cannot defend themselves. They cannot respond to danger. Tal paused, his four eyes blinking in sequence. More disturbing still, they see this as normal. They even enjoy it. I believe this makes humans unpredictable and potentially dangerous. How can we understand creatures who willingly die a little death each day, who split their consciousness between reality and dream worlds? He sent the message, not knowing that it would soon cause a major problem in relations between Viridians and humans. That night, Tal stood by his window, watching the city go dark as humans everywhere surrendered to sleep. He wondered how such vulnerable creatures had survived long enough to reach the stars. 3 days after Tal sent his message home, trouble began. Someone on the Viridian ship leaked parts of Tal's report to human news channels. Soon, everyone on Earth knew what the alien ambassador thought about human sleep. Breaking news. Alien ambassador calls humans death-embracing monsters who cannot be trusted, said a newswoman on TV. June rushed to find Tal. The ambassador was in his room, watching the news with all four eyes wide. Ambassador, we have a problem, Jun said. I see that, Tal replied. His musical voice was flat and worried. I did not mean for my private report to be seen by humans. The words you used have upset many people, Jun explained. Calling humans consciousness-splitting entities and death-embracing monsters sounds very insulting to us. Tal's third arm pressed against his chest. Those terms are scientific descriptions from a Viridian viewpoint. I meant no offense. Outside the embassy, people gathered with signs. Some signs read, "Aliens go home," and "We are not monsters." Meanwhile, the Viridian ship sent Tal a message. June was there when Tal played it. "Ambassador Tal, your report raises serious concerns," said the Viridian leader on the screen. "If humans lose consciousness daily and experience hallucinations, they may be mentally unstable. This makes them dangerous. We are considering ending all contact with Earth." June felt his heart sink. Years of work to establish first contact might be ruined because of a misunderstanding about sleep. "This is getting out of hand," June said. "We need to fix this quickly." Tal nodded. "I agree. But my people truly do not understand how beings can function while losing consciousness regularly." June fought hard. "We need to call a special meeting. Both sides need to understand each other better." They arranged for a meeting with top human leaders and the Viridian ship captain who had come down to Earth. The large meeting room was tense as they all sat down. "Humans are upset by being called monsters," the human president said. "We expect an apology." The Viridian captain stood tall, his blue skin shining. "And we are concerned that humans may be unstable and dangerous. Losing consciousness daily is very strange to us." June raised his hand. "May I speak?" When they nodded, he continued, "This is a cultural misunderstanding. Ambassador Tal was describing human sleep in scientific terms for his people, not trying to insult us." "But the terms he used," the president started. "From a Viridian perspective, they are accurate," June explained. "Viridians never lose consciousness their entire lives. To them, our normal sleep seems shocking." Tal spoke next. "I apologize for any offense. I was trying to explain something that on my world would be considered a serious medical emergency. And we don't understand how you never sleep," said Dr. Day, who had been invited to the meeting. "To us, that seems impossible." The Viridian captain's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Our biology is very different. We process information and heal our bodies continuously, not in sleep cycles like humans." The room grew quiet as both sides realized how different they truly were from each other. "Perhaps," June suggested, "instead of ending relations, we should learn more about each other. This difference in sleep is just one of many things we don't understand about each other." The human president looked at the Viridian captain. "Would your people agree to continue diplomatic talks if we can address these concerns?" The captain thought for a moment. "We need more information before deciding. Ambassador Tal's observations suggest humans might be unpredictable partners." "Then let us show you more," June said. "Let's prove that human sleep doesn't make us dangerous or unstable." Tal looked at June with all 4 eyes. "What do you suggest?" June took a deep breath. "I volunteer to be observed through a complete sleep cycle, with full monitoring and recording. Your scientists can study everything that happens. Then you can make an informed decision." The room fell silent again. Everyone knew that what happened next could determine the future relationship between humans and Viridians. The sleep lab was set up with extra care. Dr. Da had brought in the best equipment for monitoring brain waves, heart rate, breathing, and eye movement. Cameras were placed around the room to record everything. June sat on the edge of the bed wearing special pajamas with small sensors attached to them. Wires connected to a cap on his head. "Are you sure about this?" Hannah asked him. She had come to see him before the experiment began. "I'm sure," June said. "Someone needs to show the Viridians that sleep is natural, not dangerous." Tal and 3 other Viridians stood on one side of the room. The Viridian captain was there too. They all watched June with their 4 eyes blinking in different patterns. "We will observe the entire human sleep cycle," Tal explained to his fellow Viridians. "June has agreed to let us record everything." Dr. Da pointed to the large screens on the wall. "These will show what's happening in June's brain during sleep. We've also added something special." He pointed to another screen. "This will show rough images of what June is dreaming, based on his brain activity." The Viridian captain's skin changed to a darker blue. "You can see these hallucinations. In a very basic way, yes, Dr. Day said. The technology is new, but it works well enough to show simple images and feelings from dreams. June lay down on the bed. I'm ready when you are. Dr. Day nodded and switched on all the equipment. Try to sleep normally, though I know it won't be easy with everyone watching. June closed his eyes. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of the machines. On the screens, colorful patterns showed June's brain activity. He is still awake, Dr. Day explained. See how the patterns look. His mind is active but trying to relax. The Viridians watched without blinking. Minutes passed. Then the patterns on the screen began to change. He's entering the first stage of sleep now, Dr. Day said quietly. His eyes are still moving sometimes, Tal noticed. Yes, that happens in light sleep. Watch how the patterns change. Over the next hour, the screens showed June moving deeper into sleep. The Viridians asked many questions, and Dr. Day explained everything he could about what they were seeing. Now he's entering REM sleep, Dr. Day said finally. This is when most dreaming happens. The dream screen began to show blurry images. Colors swirled and then formed the shape of a beach. Waves moved in and out. He appears to be at an ocean, Tal said, his musical voice full of wonder. Yes, it seems so, Dr. Day agreed. As they watched, the dream changed. Now June was flying over mountains. Then he was talking to someone who wasn't really there. The human mind creates entire worlds, the Viridian captain said quietly, while the body cannot move. Exactly, Dr. Day said. Dreams can be simple or complex. They don't always make sense. Suddenly, the dream images showed a blue figure that looked like Tal. The Viridians all moved closer to the screen. He's dreaming about me, Tal asked. Your meeting has been important to him, Dr. Day explained. Our brains often process important events in dreams. Through the night, the Viridians watched as June went through several sleep cycles. Sometimes he moved or made small sounds. The dream screen showed many different scenes. When morning came, June slowly opened his eyes and sat up. He looked at the Viridians, who had not moved all night. How was that? He asked. Tal stepped forward. It was educational. You were truly unconscious, yet your mind created entire worlds we could see on the screen. The Viridian captain nodded his large head. I have never witnessed anything like it. Your mind is both vulnerable and powerful during this sleep state. June smiled as Dr. Day helped remove the sensors. It's normal for us. We've always needed sleep. Perhaps, Tal said slowly, what seemed like a weakness might be something else entirely. For the first time, the Viridians were beginning to see sleep not just as a strange and frightening habit, but as something more complex and interesting about humans. 2 days after the sleep experiment, June and Tal were back to regular diplomatic meetings. Things seemed better between humans and Viridians. The Viridian ship had not left Earth, which was a good sign. Today was important. Leaders from many Earth countries were meeting with the Viridian captain and his team. They were discussing possible trade between the two worlds. Tal sat beside June in the large meeting room. Your sleep experiment has helped my people understand humans better, Tal said quietly. I'm glad, June replied. Did you send a new report home? Yes, I explained that human sleep is complex and not just a weakness. The meeting was going well. The human leaders proposed trading Earth metals for Viridian technology. The Viridians seemed interested. But during a short break, something unexpected happened. Loud noises came from outside the building. Then alarms started ringing. What's happening? Tal asked, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Security guards rushed into the room. There's a protest group breaking in, one guard said. We need to move everyone to safety. The room became chaotic as people stood up and moved around. The human leaders were taken out first. Then the guards came for Tal. Ambassador, we need to get you to a safe room, a guard told him. But Tal noticed something. June and several other humans were not leaving. They were standing by the door, making a line between the Viridians and whatever danger was coming. "What are you doing?" Tal asked June. "Protecting our guests," June said simply. "It's our job." The guards tried to make June leave, but he refused. "We must ensure all Viridians are safe first." Suddenly, the doors burst open. A group of angry people rushed in with signs. "No alien ALINC," they shouted. "Aliens go home." The protesters hadn't expected to find people still in the room. They stopped short when they saw June and the other humans blocking their way. "You cannot come in here," June said firmly. "This is a diplomatic meeting." One protester stepped forward. "These aliens think we're monsters because we sleep. We saw the reports." "That was a misunderstanding," June explained calmly. "We're working together now." Security guards arrived and began removing the protesters. No one was hurt, but the meeting was ruined for the day. Later, Tal found June in a quiet room. "I don't understand," Tal said. "You stood between us and danger." "Of course," June said. "You were our guests. But just last night, you were unconscious, helpless. Today you risked yourself for others." June smiled. "That's what humans do." Tal's third arm twitched. "My people believe those who sleep are weak. But you sleep every night and still show great courage. It doesn't make sense to me." "Maybe sleep and weakness aren't connected the way you think," June suggested. That evening, Tal walked around the embassy garden thinking. The Viridian captain joined him. "You seem troubled, Ambassador," the captain said. "I'm trying to understand humans," Tal replied. His musical voice was low. "They willingly become unconscious every day, yet they aren't weak or afraid." "What happened today with the protesters was interesting," the captain said. "The humans protected us without hesitation." "Yes, the same humans who were completely helpless while sleeping last night stood as our shields today." The captain's 4 eyes all blinked at once. "Perhaps there is strength in being able to be vulnerable sometimes." Tal looked up at the night sky. "On our world, we value constant awareness and control. We never let our guard down. And humans do it every day," the captain said. "Yet they built a civilization advanced enough to reach the stars. It makes me wonder," Tal said slowly, "if always being alert, always being in control, limits us in ways we don't understand." As stars appeared above them, Tal realized he was beginning to see sleep not as a strange alien weakness, but as something that might teach Viridians about a different kind of strength. 1 week after the protest incident, things had calmed down. The Viridian ship remained in orbit around Earth. Talks between the two worlds continued in a positive way. June invited Tal to visit Korea's National Museum. "I think it's time we shared more about our cultures," June said. "Not just our biology." The museum was large and beautiful. As they walked through the exhibits, Tal's 4 eyes moved in different directions, taking in everything. "Your people have created many beautiful things," Tal said, looking at ancient pottery and paintings. "Art has been important to humans for thousands of years," June explained, "even before we had writing." They stopped in front of a display of dream catchers from various cultures. "What are these?" Tal asked. "Dream catchers. Many human cultures believed dreams were important. Some thought bad dreams could be caught in these nets, while good dreams would pass through." Tal's third arm touched the glass gently. "So dreams have shaped your art and beliefs." "Very much so," June said. "Dreams appear in our stories, our paintings, our music. Sleep and dreams have influenced human creativity throughout history." After touring the museum, they sat in a quiet garden. It was time for Tal to share too. "You've shown me your culture," Tal said. "Let me tell you about Viridians." Tal explained that Viridians began life in a larval form in special pools. When they emerged, they were fully aware and never lost consciousness. "We experience every moment of our lives from first awareness until final dissolution, Tal said. No gaps, no breaks. That sounds exhausting, Jun said. We don't see it that way. Our minds work differently. We can focus on multiple things at once with our 4 eyes and 3-part brain. What about your art? Jun asked. What kinds of things do Viridians create? Tal used a small device to show holographic images of Viridian art. The images were complex, with many layers and patterns that seemed to move. Our art is meant to be viewed from multiple angles at once, Tal explained. A Viridian can see all sides simultaneously and understand the whole. Jun tried to look at all parts of the images, but found it hard. I can only focus on one part at a time. Because you have a single focus mind, Tal said. Viridians can hold many thoughts at once. Is that because you never sleep? Jun asked. Tal's skin shifted to a lighter blue. Perhaps. Our minds never rest, so they develop differently. We remember everything. Every moment of our lives is stored perfectly. That sounds wonderful, Jun said. But we don't create new combinations the way humans do in dreams, Tal continued. Our art is precise, logical. We don't have inspiration that comes from nowhere. They were quiet for a moment, thinking about these differences. May I ask you something personal? Tal said finally. Of course. What does it feel like? To fall asleep? To dream? Jun thought carefully. Falling asleep feels like slowly letting go. Your thoughts drift, become less clear. Then you're not aware until dreams begin. And dreams. Dreams feel real while you're in them. Sometimes wonderful, sometimes scary. Things happen that couldn't happen in the real world. You can fly. Talk to people who aren't there. Visit places that don't exist. Tal's 4 eyes blinked slowly. It sounds like a kind of freedom. I never thought of it that way, Jun said. But yes, I suppose it is. Viridians are never free from awareness, Tal said quietly. We never experience anything but reality. As they left the garden, both were thinking about what they had learned. Tal was beginning to see that sleep wasn't just a strange human weakness. It might be something his people lacked. Your dreams, Tal said, they give you something my people might never understand. The ability to imagine what doesn't exist. And your continuous awareness gives you something we might never have. Perfect memory and focus, Jun replied. They walked together, an alien and a human, each seeing the other in a new light. On his last day on Earth, Tal stood by the window in his embassy room. After 2 weeks of learning about humans, he was returning to his home world tomorrow. The large silver Viridian ship waited in orbit to take him back. There was a knock at his door. It was Jun. Ambassador, are you ready for the farewell dinner? Jun asked. Almost, Tal said. His musical voice was thoughtful. I am finishing my final report about humans. Jun looked worried. I hope this one is better than the first. Tal's 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that Jun now knew meant amusement. Much better. My understanding has changed greatly. On the desk was a small device. Tal pressed a button, and it showed a hologram of his report. As he worked, he explained what he had written. I began by thinking sleep was a terrible weakness, Tal said. A strange habit that made humans vulnerable and unpredictable. And now? Jun asked. Now I see it differently. Tal touched the hologram, moving sections of text around. Sleep is one of humanity's most remarkable features. A daily surrender that requires courage, followed by renewal. Jun smiled. I never thought of it that way. Each night, humans lose consciousness. You can't defend yourselves. You lie helpless, trusting that you will wake again. This shows incredible bravery. We don't think about it, Jun said. It's just normal for us. That makes it even more remarkable, Tal replied. And then there are dreams. Your minds create new combinations of thoughts while your bodies rest. This may be why humans are so creative, so able to imagine things that don't exist yet. Tal finished his report and closed the device. They walked together to the farewell dinner where human leaders and Viridian officials gathered. During the meal, the Viridian captain stood to make an announcement. Based on Ambassador Tal's reports and our own observations, the Viridian Collective has decided to establish permanent diplomatic relations with Earth, he said. The room filled with applause. Tal had helped save the relationship between their worlds. After dinner, June and Tal walked in the garden one last time. I have a gift for you, June said, handing Tal a small package. Inside was a beautiful dream catcher made with blue and silver threads. It's a reminder of what you learned here, June explained. Tal held it carefully with his third arm. Thank you. I have something for you too. He gave June a small crystal sphere. When June held it, soft lights moved inside it, forming patterns. This is a memory crystal, Tal said. Viridians use them to store important memories. I've put my memories of Earth inside. It's beautiful, June said. What should I do with it? Keep it beside you when you sleep, Tal said. Perhaps it will influence your dreams. The next morning, Tal prepared to leave Earth. Many people came to see him off, including June and his family. Little Sue gave Tal a drawing she had made of him. I drew this after I dreamed about you, she told him. Tal looked at the colorful picture. It showed him with his blue skin, but instead of looking scared, he was smiling. Thank you, little one, he said. I will keep it always. Before boarding his ship, Tal spoke to June one last time. When I first arrived, I thought humans were strange for needing sleep. Now I wonder if Viridians are missing something important by never experiencing it. What do you mean? June asked. Viridians, with our unbroken consciousness, never get to start fresh. We carry every moment with us always. But humans, you die a little death each night and are reborn each morning. You know what it means to begin again. Tal looked up at the sky. Perhaps someday my people will find a way to sleep too. To dream. To know what it feels like to close our eyes and trust that we will open them again. As Tal's ship rose into the clouds, June thought about how strange it was that something as simple as sleep, something humans took for granted, could seem so amazing to beings from another world. Sometimes, he realized, what seemed like a weakness could actually be a strength. And the things that made humans different didn't make them less. They made them special.